everyone, this is Yana, and today I'm sharing another clean and simple die cutting episode using dies from Spellbinders and stamps from Neat Tangled. So today I'm going to use this larger hexagon die from the Spellbinders Hexagons die set. I have already shared a few videos with this set previously on my channel, and I'll have a link to them in the video description and also on my blog so that you can check them out if you want. Now, this particular die is about 2 inches tall and about 2.5 inches wide. I'm also going to use a few pieces of cardstock. These are some leftover pieces that I have from my previous projects. If you don't have colored cardstock, you can use white and simply add color to it using markers or ink pads. And I've already shared this trick on my channel in one of my videos previously as well. I'll have a link to that too. So I'm going to use 5 colors to do my die cutting today. I have blue, green, and 3 shades of purple. The third one is not shown as I had only a tiny piece left. Cards like this are a good way to utilize any leftover pieces of cardstock that you might have and don't want to throw away. You can also try this technique with bits and pieces of pattern paper. I think it's going to look very cool too. So I'm going to start working on my card by cutting out a few colored hexagons. I'm using textured cardstock for this, as the leftover pieces of cardstock that I have are textured, but I'm going to use a non-textured side of the cardstock for the front of my die cuts. Now, there are a few reasons for this, and first being that I simply like the smooth side of the cardstock better. And the second reason, a bit more important than the first one, is because I plan to cut my hexagons apart and reassemble them later. I was afraid I would not be able to match up the pattern of the texture and my hexagons would not look as nice. If you're using smooth cardstock or pattern paper, you should not have a problem like this. Just use whatever side of paper you like best. As always, I'm using a piece of washi tape to hold my dies in place while I die cut. And it's especially useful when using small pieces of paper so that I don't waste any. I like to use the Tim Holtz washi tape as it's very low tack and I simply have way too much of it. But you can use painter's tape or a Post-it to hold your die in place. So I'm going to use my Artisan Explorer machine from Spellbinders and die cut my hexagon. You can use any other die cutting machine for this. Spellbinders dies work beautifully in other machines as well. So this is what my hexagon looks like, the front on the smooth side and the back on the textured side. I've actually already cut a bunch of hexagons and I have them ready on the side, so that's why you only saw me cut one. You're going to need more than one hexagon for the card. Depending on the number of the colors and how much hexagon coverage you want on your card, you will probably need to cut about 1 or 2 or maybe even 3 hexagons of each color. So after you've cut all of your hexagons with a hexagon die, you're going to need to cut them apart into 6 pieces. So I'm using a ruler and a pencil to draw lines on the back side of my hexagon and make marks as to where to cut them apart. If you are comfortable using a paper trimmer for this, go ahead and use it. It should take less time than the pencil and the ruler and the scissors, but I want it to be as precise as possible, so I went with the old-fashioned way. So basically, I'm drawing lines connecting the opposite angles of the hexagons. I have 3 lines which divide my hexagons into 6 equal parts. Now I'm going to grab my scissors and cut it apart following the lines. This part really doesn't take that long. I know it might seem like it's going to take forever, but it really doesn't. And a trick to making a straight cut is to use scissors with a long blade, long enough to cut the hexagon in one cut. So here are all the other hexagons that I've already made. There are some partial ones too, as I was using leftover pieces of cardstock. And I've already cut most of them into smaller triangular shapes. Now, if you have a die that cuts small triangles, you can use that die and skip the scissors part. It should make things go a bit faster, but I don't have a die like that, so I'm going to use the hexagon one instead. You are going to need to cut a few more hexagons to be able to assemble the little triangles back to the hexagon shape. The best way to do this is to use another piece of cardstock, preferably the same color or similar to the colors you use to die cut your little pieces. So basically, you don't want to use white for dark colors and vice versa. I did use a few white and it didn't really look nice. You're going to see what I mean here in a minute. Another trick is to add some kind of adhesive to the back to your backing shape, like to your backing hexagon, to make it easy to reassemble these hexagons. As for those backing hexagons, they don't have to be perfect either. If you're running low on cardstock like I am here, you can make them partial. Just make sure to make them large enough to easily reassemble your hexagons back. First, I'm going to place different colored triangles on my work surface for easy assembly. Now, because I only have 5 colors and I do need 6 pieces, I'm going to use one color twice. I don't want my hexagons to be identical, so I'm going to randomly adhere these pieces and try not to follow any pattern there. So I'm going to remove the protective piece from my tape and start adhering. You want to make sure you are adhering the right side up, in my case that being the smooth side, and you also want to make sure that you have the die cut side facing outwards, not the scissors cut side. You want the scissors cut side to be on the inside of your hexagon. The way to tell the sides apart is to notice that barely visible indentation or embossing on the die cut side. The scissors cut side doesn't have an indentation like that. So the die cut side needs to be placed facing outwards from the inside of the hexagon. So there I have my first piece in place. Move on to your next color, again making sure you are using the right side of the triangle and adhere it down. Next, grab another piece and keep moving until you have all the hexagons in place, or all the triangles in place. And I'm also adding one extra piece in blue to my hexagon. To the other hexagons, I added extra pieces in purple. So here's what my reassembled hexagon looks like, and here are all the other hexagons that I did for this card. For the most, I used blue cardstock as base, but for some, I reused some white cardstock. Now, the white cardstock doesn't look as nice. It does show through just a teeny tiny bit, so make sure to use dark colored cardstock for your base. So now it's time to assemble my card. I'm going to use a piece of green cardstock to adhere my hexagons to. This is the same color of green that I used to die cut one of the pieces, and it's cut to 4 by 5¼ inches. I have already arranged the hexagons on my paper. I first planned to use only a few, but then added a couple more later. Now, before I move any further, I need to decide on the sentiment for my card. I want to use this Photo Boost stamp set and stamp a few words in a line. I want to stamp laugh, smile, party time, as the hexagons kind of remind me of the colorful disco balls. You know, they spin and project various colors around. Now, to help my sentiments stand out, I'm going to heat emboss it with white embossing powder. So I'm going to use my heat embossing powder tool and rub it across the area where I'm going to emboss to prevent embossing powder particles sticking to places where I don't need them. I'm then going to ink my stamp with clear embossing ink from Tsukineko and stamp the sentiment. Now, before I apply heat, I'm going to remove most of my hexagons. I had them attached with removable adhesive and then heat set my sentiment. So after I've heat set the sentiment, I put my hexagons back, this time using a regular adhesive, and moved on to embellishing my card. So I grabbed a few colors of enamel dots from my mind's eye and Doodlebug and scattered them on the hexagons. Now, I always struggle with placing these little tiny embellishments on my projects. It usually takes me about 5 or maybe even 10 minutes to do that. I struggle with the colors and the placement. Now, I do try to stick to the visual triangle rule as much as I can, as it really is a lifesaver in cases like this. So after I've adhered enamel dots, I decided I needed to add a few more hexagons to the top part of my card, so I added 3 more there. I then grabbed this the Birthday Bash holographic sequence from Neat Tangled and added a few to my card. And I still wasn't happy with my card at that moment, so I did the unspeakable. I'm kidding. I then again removed some of the hexagons from my card and replaced the regular adhesive with various kinds of foam adhesive. Sorry about my hat getting in the camera. I needed to take a closer look there to make sure I placed the hexagons exactly where they had to be. Then I, of course, added this to a card base, which is an A2 top folding card, and finished making my project. I hope you enjoyed this video. All the supplies are used to create this card are listed in the video description and on my blog for your convenience. Please be sure to click that like button, drop me a comment, and share this video with your crafty friends. And if you're new to my channel, please subscribe. Thank you.